This is Ritter from the Renner Entertainment Blog coming to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations number 85. So this week I had a pretty wide range of movies. Children's movies, foreign movies, investigative journalism, love story, horror films, you name it. So the first thing I watched was Injustice, the latest installment of DC animated movies, which is what their niche is, that's what they're really good at. And if those who watched read the graphic novel and played the video game franchise, you know how epic the fighting scenes are, the gore, the superpowers, the wide range of characters. And I like the idea that Garrett Hartley, who, has been in so many different, Justin Hartley's been in so many superhero related projects. He was the original Green Arrow on Smallville. He was in the Aquaman failed pilot. So the fact that he gets to voice Superman, and it's an interesting take for what if Superman goes off the deep end and goes, I want to end, war and all the fighting and dictatorships and all these bad people, and it basically becomes like a militia, a dictatorship, a militant state where it's like, if you don't stop your wars, the Arabic countries, the countries in Africa, there could be European countries, the Asian countries, who, no matter what country, have wars, Korea, China, whatever it is, he's there to stop you, unarm you, and if you don't, and you get in his way, he'll kill you. So it's an interesting take to be of where we saw Superman under the Red Sun, where he was, the Russians groomed him to be, their weapon, but then if he's in the United States, he's the good old guy who saves us. So it's interesting how he goes off the deep end and they explore all the parameters and who's on his side that we want to rule by an iron fist, when it's like, no, we're here to protect people. We don't take innocent lives. We don't care if they're good or bad. We just don't kill innocent people. We don't kill people. They got to fight their own wars. But if something task-free happens, you got to step in. And of course, as in every animated movie, every cartoon, every comic book, every movie, it comes down to Batman versus Superman. And Batman's got his own group of allies. Interesting. And I like how this movie had Nightwing and had Damian Wade, Batman's son. And then it had Cyborg, which voiced by Brandon Michael Hall, which was cool. Oliver Hudson, Plastic Man, they gave him a speaking role. They showed off Adam's powers. They showed how cool Hawkman was. Aquaman was in it. Captain, Adam was in it. Raven was in it. They had all different characters, and then they had all Batman's like rogue villains, like even Calendar Man and some other people that they're like, who are you, that are in Arkham Asylum and stuff. And the thing I don't like is that they, again in this movie, they pick certain characters to survive the outcomes and ones that don't. So who cares about Harley Quinn or Catwoman or Plastic Man? Some of these characters. That was cool. Miss Terrific got to show off how smart he is and stuff. That was cool. But there's certain characters I'm just like, what are you doing? Because in Justice League Apocalypse War, pretty much like everybody dies, and that's how they restart the universe. But they kill off Nightwing and they rip his arm and legs off in a brutal way, bring him back as a zombie with the Lazarus Pit. This one, the way they kill him off was stupid. The way that they use his character when his character has already been used, that story plot is a different character in DC Comics altogether. You might as well just not even have Nightwing in the movie. Don't make him a big role in the movie. Don't kill him off. Don't give him another character. But yeah, Flash was barely in the movie. Green Lantern was barely in the movie. So it was like interesting take of all the wide range of characters. And it will come down to Batman versus Superman, and it's Batman trying everything possible to convince Superman to stop what he's doing. Interesting that instead of his mother being alive, his father's being alive in this movie. It was just very interesting movie. And I give DC credit. They did a good job overall. As I mentioned, there's some character issues, some story plot issues, some things. But overall, it was a good offshoot because they now can do that. Then I watched Peter Rabbit 2. And, it's like the typical 80 to 90 minutes children movie where they're like, Peter has got to learn a lesson. So basically it takes place right after they left off. And right where they left off is where Rose Byrne character marries Domino Gleason's character. And these are her rabbits and all the animals that come to the garden. David Awalio gets to be the publisher who wants to publish her books on a national scale because she made a story of the Peter Rabbit and all the rabbits, and that stuff. And Margie Robbo and James Corden are the two biggest people that voicing these characters. There's like 3 female rabbits, his cousin, all this other stuff. And it shows, and it's a good tale of something like you're famous and you're popular, but are you really what they say about you? And yeah, if you like the first one, you read the books, you know everything, you'll enjoy this one. The kids will like this because, as I said, right after the other one, it's just very interesting. Peter's got to learn a lesson and stuff. And he also has got to get along with Domino Gleeson's character. Then I watched Willys Wonderland, which was they list as a horror film, and it's 87 minutes, so good, not too long. It's got like a fantasy satanic ritual. It's got killings, it's got fighting scenes, it's got creepy animatronic creatures like Chuck E. Cheese and like all these other things. And Nicolas Cage, I think I've seen pretty much every movie that's ever been in. There may be some movies that predated me or came out when I was a kid I may not have seen. But in the last 10, 15 years, I've pretty much seen everything. He likes to talk. He's like me. I love talking. He loves talking. And he doesn't speak whatsoever. Basically, the whole movie is this rich person has this, this children's, pizza parlor birthday place. And you get to Nicolas Cage, oh, your car got ruined. Oh, we take cash here. All the ATMs are down. You don't have the money. Well, if you spend the night cleaning this place, eat whatever's in the fridge, and the next day we'll come out with your car all in that thing. But it's like a gimmick. And the people that live in this town have been accepting the fact that all these unexplained people that die that don't really matter, and these young adults want to change it. And there's like this corrupt sheriff, and it was very interesting. And that Nicolas Cage, obviously, they're not going to kill him off in the movie, and how he survives. So it's very interesting how he survives and takes down these evil creatures. So it was a pretty good movie. I would say, Injustice, Flaws, and Peter Rabbit 2 being an okay movie compared to the first one, and I like that one, Willys Wonderland, more. Then I watched Skyfire, and it's pretty much like, let's make a amusement park of dinosaurs, or let's build a resort and a hotel on a volcano. Yeah, really smart ideas, because of course it's going to come back to haunt you, and everybody's going to die, and everybody's got to leave, and that's the point of the movie. They have this movie where this white woman's like a volcano researcher with her Asian husband, and the volcano erupts, and there's no warning system, so this woman spent her whole life making sure that this volcano doesn't go off again, and they have all this technology to prevent it, and her and her father having a strange relationship, but he goes out to the island because he wants her to get off of it because she's been trying to research this. Jason Isaacs is the dumb rich guy who builds the mountain on there and stuff, and he's really immersed in Asian culture because his wife's Asian and stuff. And then there's like other people in the movie and all of them and stuff, and for an 80 to 90 minute movie of trying to survive a volcano eruption, it was pretty interesting. It was just very cliche, a lot of it, like, don't do this, of course to do it. They warned him not to do it, and then the whole her father and her relationship thing, because I thought the father died the way that the movie began, where she may have been an orphan. And I like the fact that the movie was in English as well, because I said, like, Jason Isaacs speaks English. So, of course, he's the only guy in the movie who obviously doesn't speak Chinese. But it was an okay enough movie to sit there and watch it because it wasn't that long. And you got to survive a volcano, which is pretty cool. Then I thought Jeremy Piven was, like, blacklisted because they canceled Wisdom of the Crowd. They didn't want to keep it on the air even without his character because his character wasn't needed that much. Basically, he's this, does architecture, like business for this big time guy in Philadelphia, and they're in this small town called like the Heights or whatever, and he comes back home because his mother dies, and he's got his ex-girlfriend who's back, the girl he had a crush on is back. He's got his dumb brother, who I've seen him being a villain like on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and other things, and he's always playing some sort of schlop. And the thing is, the father, the bar hasn't been doing well thanks to his brother, and he's got his dumb friends who get into bad trouble, and Bruce Dern plays his old ball coach whose son is his friend, and it's like, it's the movie about him trying to reconnect with the girl who had a crush on, who left when he was a kid when the father took her out, or that he's trying to reconnect with his father and his brother because he moved away and got away, or reconnect with his friends because he actually got out of town and stuff. Or is it him trying to help the small town he's in before it gets ruined by his boss or one of his boss's underlings? It's got all these different plots. Is it a family movie? Is it a romantic comedy? Is it a friendship movie? Is it a siblings movie? Is it trying to save your town? And all I'm going to say is, like, I liked the movie. I thought it was an okay movie to watch where you sit there for an hour and 30 to 40 minutes at most, and you're like, okay, cool. But also, Jerry Piven's been always this guy that's considered good looking, but the woman that he's trying to go after, she's not the best looking, and I'm just like, I don't get it. But yeah, I sat there and watched it because I thought, it's not that long of a movie. It's a comedy. It's pretty good to sit through and watch, a dumb comedy. But again, all over the place of what type of movie it's supposed to be. That's the issue. I'm just glad Jeremy Piven's back in acting because they wrongfully got rid of that show that he was on. Profile. This movie I thought was interesting because it was all through Skype and FaceTime, and this woman typing things on a computer, researching things, using social media, iMessaging people, and it's interesting that Christina Adams from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Penny Jefferson Pierce's wife, Dr. Lynn and Black Lightning, I realized she's British, she's like her boss, and all this stuff. And the whole point is, like, they're trying to infiltrate these terrorist recruitment cells by pretending you're a girl who converted to Islam, because a lot of these European women go over there and stuff. And it's a whole process of talking to this person, getting to know them, trying to get information out of them, but then you fall for their sob stories. And the whole point of all this movie is like, oh, maybe she gets sucked in by the recruiter and maybe become interested in him and actually go all the way to Syria and stuff. And she got her own boyfriend, her friend, and all this other stuff that's like bogged down. So the movie's like an hour and 40 something minutes. Probably could have cut down 10, 20, 30, 20 minutes of this movie and made it all about that. It was interesting that they filmed a movie like this, but she doesn't realize how the difference between separate Skype accounts, separate user accounts, separate, social media accounts and all this other stuff. So it was like, okay, it was out there, it was different. But then it was like, well, they said it's kind of based on true events where they're falling for the person, and then they find out who she is and where she is with all this technology. So they've got to be careful. So it was like more of a do not, get involved in this type of story. But it's an interesting out. Then I watched Finding You, where I'm like, it's an hour and 59 minutes with credits. There's no need for this dramedy to be this romantic movie where this girl goes, I'm going to go study abroad, but I got to worry about getting into this music program, and she's in college, and that this happens to be in Ireland, and the same, host parent is where her brother stayed. She's figuring out what made her brother really like this place, and he died, and it's all about, you're like, okay, maybe it's about her finding herself and figuring out what happened to her brother. Then she's got to hang out with an old lady as part of a class assignment, and she gets really involved in that woman's life, how she kept a secret from her sister and all this other stuff, and it's like a conspiracy there. And then she meets this actor on the plane, and he's a typical jerky, uptight, stuck up actor, but really he's not. It's all the tabloids, and his father's making him act, and he really didn't want to act, and his father wants him in a relationship with the woman who plays Oliver Queen's daughter, Catherine McNamara, in the Arrowverse. And you're like, okay, is it about her helping this woman? Is it her about finding herself? Is it about her brother? Is it about her being in this relationship with this famous person? It was all over the place. It did not need to be almost 2 hours long. Could have been an hour 30 to hour 40 something minute, maybe exactly hour 50 with credits, because we get it. It's a love story. They get off the wrong point. They don't really like. She doesn't really like him, but then he shows her how good of a person he is. She helps him out, realize that he doesn't really want to be an actor, that it's something he was forced into being. And it was just all over the place. It wasn't inappropriate, so you can watch it with your children in terms of middle school, high schoolers, but it was like, should I be a fiddler? I should be a violin player. It was okay. And as I mentioned, the best movie that I watched this week was probably Willys Wonderland, because it was just straight up good, horror action, creepy stuff. Peter Rabbit 2 for the kids. I liked it. I laughed. And Justice was pretty good because it was a DC animated movie with all the fighting and the action and stuff and a good use of character. Skyfire was a typical let's escape a volcano. Last Call was what you watch as a dumb comedy, even if it was, as I said, all over the place, like Finding You. You're trying to figure out, what type of movie is this? And, Last Call was a little bit longer than it should have been. Finding You was a little bit longer. And then Profile said it was an interesting idea to make a movie all on this person using a computer, but, it was okay. It was too long. Thanks for listening to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations number 85. For On the Radar Entertainment Blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.